Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know how to speak, it's your girl KylerB coming at you with a new video. So today we're going to be talking about this new TV series called Maxton that have been added to Amazon Prime or Prime Video. And let's talk about it. This is another TV book to TV adaptation, and yeah, I would say this was an interesting, series. So first and foremost, I would say, so if you want a book to become a TV show or a movie, I feel like Amazon is a streaming service to add it to or to get it on, because this is another book to TV adaptation. Since the Summer I Turned Pretty is coming to its final season, even though the season is coming out next year, 2025 of summer, that's another book to TV adaptation, series. So I guess they're picking up another one, because this series, I clicked on it. I saw a little trailer because they were promoting it, when you click on Amazon Prime or whatever, and they're promoting it, and I was like, okay, let's see what this is about. It seems a little interesting, whatever. Watched it, and yeah, they got me invested. So this Maxton series is basically like an enemies to lovers type trope, which I feel like they really did it right. They really put it in like a perspective that you're involved with. What I'm gathering, what things that happen is this: you have this main character named Ruby Bell. She's going to Maxton on scholarship, and we have the male main character, which is Beaufort. And what happened is that I think they're in their junior year or their senior. I feel like it's the junior year, and she's getting recommendations to go to Oxford, which is uni, because go to university, so go to Oxford for college. So she's asking this teacher, originally, because that's her favorite teacher, if he could, recommendation for her. So, he said yes, because obviously, that's one of his good students. That's his favorite teacher, whatever. So, in doing so, in the first episode, she goes, leaves class, but she forgets something. She comes back and sees that Lydia Beaufort and the teacher that she asked for the recommendation to write her for college are sharing a kiss. They're kissing in class. And she was that's a big situation. So she runs away, but Lydia Beaufort is what, if she tells anybody, that can ruin her reputation, that can ruin anything, whatever. So Lydia Beaufort runs to her brother, because I guess it's not the first time she gets caught up in a situation, and tells her brother, buy this Ruby Bell off so she won't speak, pay for her silence, whatever, so she won't speak. So her brother, James Beaufort, her brother comes and be like, what, I gotta handle it. So how they handle situations, they pay off these people. But Ruby Bell is what, I'm not gonna, even though I'm, not rich, I probably need the money, I'm not gonna take your money to have my silence abroad, you know what I'm saying? No, you can take your money and throw it on the floor or do whatever if you want. I'm not gonna be robbed of my silence. So that's that act of defiance is what, everybody knows that she wouldn't, with anybody who needs the money would have took the money and just keep their mouth shut. But, that was her first act of defiance and stuff like that. So he was like, what, since you're not gonna take this money, and I'm not gonna know if you're gonna keep your mouth shut, then he's going to do something else. Before he does something else, she talks to the teacher again, and she's like, what, you can keep your letter of recommendation, because if this ever comes out that you wrote me a letter of recommendation and then you were involved with a scandal as of having relations with a student, that wouldn't look good for my college application to Oxford. So with that being said, she's like, you know what, I go find somebody else, and somebody else is Mr. Lexington. Mr. Lexington is most likely the principal of the school, or like some like head chairman of the school, whatever. But to get his letter of recommendation, she has to do a little bit more extracurricular activities. So, such as, she's, a good student, straight A, whatever, but she's not really involved with the school. So, to be involved with the school, she has to make sure this party for the school, like for all these, newcomers and these, chairmen or whatever for the school, be enjoyable, whatever. And then if she does that, she will get her letter of recommendation. So at this party, James basically sabotaged it and sent a bunch of dancers to crash the party and basically give all these people lap dances and whatnot and basically ruin her party. So with that being said, James got suspended from lacrosse while Ruby Bell wasn't going to get her recommendation. But then she flipped the narrative and she's like, you know what, there's another thing coming up, and if I let this other thing become like really good, can you then write me a regular letter of recommendation? And he was like, you know what, if this other event goes without a problem, then yes, I can write you another recommendation. So that being said, James gets kicked off the lacrosse team, but because he's thinking that it's the principal, and the thing is that they're a wealthy family, like they're probably the biggest wealthy family in, I guess, the UK. I think it's the UK, because they're speaking German, but is like based in United Kingdom. So I don't know. And it was like basically like a bus ride to London. But anyways, he was like, you can't kick me off the lacrosse team. My father pays and runs the school. But then, the principal or whatever was like, the call came from your father. So he was so like upset, like, really? My father really told you to get off the lacrosse team? So with that being said, that's the first scandal, whatever. So he's upset, he's off the cross, whatever. We come to find out the relationship with his father is basically like, business Mongol wants his son to follow in his footsteps situation. So, in the business aspect, they're launching this new line for the fashion industry called Young Beaufort, which is, was pitched by the sister, but I guess the sister, being the face of the company, wasn't a good look. So they put basically all the sister's ideas onto James, and James is basically, taking everything the sister did, and he's becoming the face of it. So since he's going to be the new face of the business aspect of the business, he has to be on his P's and Q's with the father. Like, he has to have an image. His image has to be intact, whatever. So it's all of that going on from, in the show. So, but James doesn't really want to do that, following the parents and the father's footsteps, essentially. He wants to do his own thing, whatever. But when you have a big business Mongol father like Montemir Beaufort, he basically can pay somebody off and you be done. So by the middle of episode 2, Ruby basically asked him, like, for this event, we need to see like some old like pieces, some old pieces. I forgot what it was for, essentially. But she knows that the family has like access to these old pieces. So he told her no, I'm not gonna help you, or whatever. So she asked her sister, who was able to like sew and make dresses or whatever, to do this thing. So while the sister did all this time making this dress, she was supposed to iron it. And while she was doing that, she put the iron up and checked her phone. I don't know why your phone was so important in that situation, to check some messages, but the iron fell down and then basically almost caused a fire in the house and basically messed up the dress. So she was without a dress and for the event, and the guy that pitched the idea, James, for the event was like, the dress is ugly, whatever. So it was a whole situation. So then I guess in class, Ruby Bell basically, it's basically like a enemies to lovers situation, because Rubiel is still angry with James, whatever. It's like, James is basically a jerk. All he cares about is his money. His money can buy him everything, da 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 da. Like, people wouldn't really like you, da 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 da. So in class, she basically disses James off to the point that he gets up and leaves class in like a whole like abrupt situation. So at the end of episode 2, she kind of like apologizes to him and be like, you know what, you're right. I don't really know you like that. I shouldn't have went off of you in class. So after all of that, I guess that was the turning point in the whole entire situation. Her being like, I'm sorry, da 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 da. He basically said, yeah, I'm gonna take you, show you the clothing situation for your event, da 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 da. So they kind of like became a little friends there, kind of little friendly banter or whatever. So he ends up, spontaneously picking her up to take her to London to go see the dresses and the outfits, and everything was going well. They actually asked her to try on the dress and whatever, and she tried on this like Queen Victoria dress, and she looked like a whole queen or whatever, and it was like a whole like fairy tale situation until Mortimer, his father, comes into the scene, and he was just like, who are you? Like, what are you doing here? Like, you know what? The dress doesn't even look good on you. Like, it was actually made for a queen, and you're certainly not. Like, he dissed her off so bad. Like, he was basically like, what are you doing here? Like, you know what? So, like, this whole moment where it was going to end up being like such a fairy tale situation gets cut short by his father. His father's like, why are you hanging out with this like low life girl? Da 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 da, because obviously she's poor, and he's like this rich man's son, whatever situation. So it was this like whole, levels aspect to the whole relationship. Like, oh, nobody like you should be hanging out with somebody like her, da 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 da. So she kind of like was so embarrassed. She basically left. She was so upset. And, James in that moment, he didn't really stick up for her. And I'm like, to be honest, you can't really blame him in that point. But I understand, like, you could have said something to, like, while your father's basically calling, Ruby some low life or whatever, you should have basically said, like, you know what, that's not true, like, stop it, da 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 da. But he never really said anything. So, she was just like, you know what, you're embarrassed with me, leave me alone, like, let me be invisible, da 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 da. So he came back to apologize to her, and she was just like, you know what, let's go back to being invisible. Like, you don't know me, I don't know you, da 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 da. Get to episode 3. Episode 3, he invites her into some party. She goes to the party like at the end of the day, because she was just like, you know what, let me just show up to have fun. And I'm like, okay, this is where it's going. This is where we're going to enemies to lovers. Like, we're going to the friends to lovers aspect. And, they're dancing and they're having fun, whatever. But then all these, like, rich, preppy kids are, like, hating because he's supposed to be, like, this rich, good-looking guy from the school. And everybody's, like, hating, dissing them on the girl. So one of the guys from the lacrosse team was like, you know what? I'm going to push you in the pool. Push her in the pool, basically try to embarrass her. Everybody with their phones out, recording it. So then James, in that moment, he jumps into the pool because I think he saw that she wasn't, coming up for air, or she wasn't like, going up to the surface. So he comes in to save her. He does save her. And that whole scene where he jumps into the pool to save her was just like, they ate that up. I was just like, yeah, I'm invested. I was invested. Like, because he really ate that up. And everybody saw how he was just so caring for her while he saves her from the pool or potentially drowning. And, everybody was like, let me, like, they lowered their phones, and he basically became her hero in that moment. So on the ride home, she basically tells James, because Ruby's parents and family, they're poor, they're broke. She's working after school to earn money because her father's in a wheelchair and the lift to go up and down the stairs broke. So she's earning money so she can pay for a new one. While doing that, what I'm saying? And she tells James the story how one day when she was a little girl, her teddy bear fell into the lake and she didn't know how to swim. So her father jumped into the pool to save, or to river, lake, whatever, to save her. And in doing so, another boat came by and basically hit his legs. So that's why his legs are paralyzed, and he can't move. So she's like, you know what? I'm the reason why my father is like this. So she like opened up to James and like started crying, whatever. And James was like basically caring for her. It was like such a sweet moment in the car ride and like everything. So they just like was sitting in the car while she's basically like wet from the pool. You know, he gave her, you know, his hoodie so she can feel a little warm, whatever. It was just like they were eating it up. They were eating it up. So after all of that, the father is like, because they took the videos of the situation, the father is like, I saw the video, what are you doing, like, what are you doing, blah blah blah. So then they got closer, they're closer, you know, they're even closer, they're most likely almost dating at this point. So she's helping him, since he's supposed to be like, instead of him being on the lacrosse team, he's supposed to help Ruby with the committee to make this other event go well. So he's like so happy helping Ruby, everything's going good. But then the father comes in and he's basically like, you know what, you got to worry about your future of your business. So instead of going to that party, you're gonna have to come to this business meeting and this business dinner. And if I don't see you at this business dinner, like, you know, it's your choice, but most likely you better come to this business dinner. So, and all that being said, he also found out that it's Ruby's birthday. So with all that being said, basically in a car ride home, you know, he's talking to his sister and he's basically like, you know what, we can't even make our own decisions. We can't do what we want, So they were like, why don't you go to the party and I go to the business meeting, because that's basically what I want to do. So they switched. They basically did like a little reverse. So Lydia went to the business dinner and he went to the party. And it was up to Ruby's surprise, because Ruby was like, I thought you weren't coming. I thought you had like a dinner for fun or whatever, a business meeting. So, you know, at the party, the light switch went off, and you know, they went to the light break and then they fixed it, but it was obviously coincidental because, you know, they had shared a kiss, but the person who turned the lights off or messed up the party or whatever was the father. So the father caught Ruby and him kissing and basically like dragged him out. Like basically, like, you know, he told Ruby, he stood up for Ruby in that time. He was like, you know what, Ruby, just go back to the party. But the father was like, if I ever see you hanging out with Ruby again, I'm gonna ruin her life. I know where she lives. I know that the father, you know, and mother don't have money. The house is basically, you know, missing payments, You know what? It takes like this for me to ruin her life. So if I see you messing with Ruby again, then it's gonna be over for her. So with him telling James all of this, James is like, to protect Ruby, I'm gonna have to like basically push her away and distance myself from her. So he basically like flipped on a dime on Ruby and basically was like, you know, acting like he doesn't know her. So, but it became embarrassing because everybody's like, oh, I thought you and Ruby were like this. What happened? But so, while he basically like dismisses her at school, he basically embarrassed her again. And she's just like, what happened? What did I do? Like, you didn't tell me. Like, you're not telling me what's going on. So, you know, they go basically a whole week without speaking. And then in that last week, you know, they're Oxford, because the party went well, she gets her recommendation from the Mr. Lexington, and then they both go to Oxford because, of course, you know, richest guy from the school is going to end up going to Oxford, and then the person who got a splendid recommendation is going to go to the Oxford interviews. She is rooming next door from James, so such a coincidence, they're rooming next door from each other. But they're still acting like they can't speak to each other. But, you know, at the end, you know, he basically finally tells Ruby, like, yo, I had to do this because my father was gonna ruin you if I didn't keep my distance. And then they basically have this whole love declaration. and basically, became a couple. They became Ruby and James. They basically became Ruby and James. They're like a couple, whatever. They spent the night together, all that, and all that. So while they were away for the weekend at Oxford, they all came back home, whatnot. Ruby is happy because she came home. She finds out her father, somebody actually had enough money to pay for a lift for her father to go up and down the stairs. So that was like one of her things that she wanted to happen, like just came true. But when Lydia and James came back home, the father's like, I gotta speak to you guys. So we're like, what happened? Like, does he know about something? What's going on? He comes in and basically tells them to sit down. But James is like, I'm not gonna sit down. Like, this seems like very important. He comes in, basically tells them that their mother is dead. Their mother died. So, like, basically in the whole entire last episode, he was actually upset with his mother because he didn't really speak to his mother. Like, he basically dismissed his mother because, like, he's telling his mother, like, can't we just make our own decisions? But the mother's like, you know what? Why can't you, just, like, follow in the routine? Like, basically he's saying to him, like, you should just follow in the routine and, like, go to Oxford, do the business and do that. Like, I'm so glad for the background of her family, but he wants to go his own way. But his family keep on saying, like, no, you need to stay on the straight and narrow. Like, that, you need to do what I tell you. So he was upset with his mother. So when he went over to Oxford, he didn't even say bye. So Lydia said bye. Lydia gave her a hug, blah, blah, blah. Even before they came back from Oxford, Lydia called the mother and was like, Mom, whatever. Come back, find out that their mother's dead. So he's, like, so upset. Him and Ruby are together, and, like, he goes to Ruby's house, but he sees in the kitchen window that Ruby is, like, happy, laughing with the family, and she's in good spirits. And I don't think he would want to burden Ruby with the sadness that his mother died. So he never told Ruby his mother died, and that's how the show ends, basically, with he's upset with because he actually went off on his father. Like, he's like, why couldn't you have called me? Why did you wait till I get here to tell me about this? And then his driver, Percy would have known about this too. And Percy never told him either. So, like, the one place that he feels like himself, I guess, now is with Ruby. And, he didn't want to bog, Ruby down with this information. So he basically, like, once again, being, like, saving her or keeping her, trying to protect her. And that's how the episode ends, because that's the end of season 1, and I found out that they got renewed for season 2, so I'm tuned in, I'm invested, because I want to see what's going on. I basically gave you, like, this long, retelling of what happened in these past 6 episodes, but they really ate this, situation up. Like, they ate it. The enemies to lovers ate down. Granted, it was only 6 episodes, so if they really kept up the enemies part of the enemies to lovers, I just wouldn't, I just feel like they did it to a good amount, because even though everything was going right, something else happened in the middle, or towards the ending, and then it got back up good, and then now it's going, something else is happening, and then, like, he's going through the death of his mother. Also, I forgot to tell you guys that the sister Lydia is with child. Usually when they say, when somebody's with child, or usually when there's, like, a death in the family, usually a person becomes with child, somebody along the way. That's just usually how it goes. So, in terms of, like, a book aspect, it kind of made sense to TV adaptation. Like, okay, the mother passed away, but Lydia's with child. Like, Lydia found out that she's preggo by the same professor, because her and the professor was having relations, and she finds out that she's preggo with the professor's child. So that's even gonna ruin her, because now her mother is not there, and the father wants to have, like, the kids to have, like, this perfect image. So anyways, usually when someone's with child, it's usually after somebody in the family has passed. So, I mean, I guess the circle of life, essentially. But at the end of the day, it seems very messy. Like, it's so interesting because with this news, you know, Ruby's gonna find out one way or another. But when she finds out, is like, okay, how would James handle it? James is very upset. Like, so let's just see how he handles this loss. But I was intrigued. Like, Maxton Hall, it was a good little book to TV adaptation. Like, they Amazon Prime probably was just like, you know what? Since the Sunrise Turned Pretty is coming to an end, we need something quick. We need another romance story quick. You know, something, because you know they need something else to get people in the summer. But yeah, I enjoyed the show. If you guys want to tune in. There was a lot of good scenes from the show. The music for the series was really good too. Like, even though it seemed like it's they're speaking in German, but there's like an English dub with English subtitles, but it's really good. It's a really good show, I would say. Like, so if you guys want to tune into Maxton Hall, tune in. The actors, the two main actors, did really good, and it was interesting. But I just had to talk about it because, you know what, something new. Everybody knows that Love Island's coming back soon. Pretty Little Liars, Summer School. I'm still on that, so tune in. But anyway, guys, if you like the video, comment down below, let me know your thoughts, comments, concerns, and subscribe to my channel. Subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. Peace.